our keynote address, the opening keynote where we talk about thinking outside the box, embracing the power of circular workplaces for a sustainable future. It is such a privilege to have amongst us Mr. Ashish Podar, Executive Director, Global Workplace Solutions, CBRE India. A round of applause as he joins us.
Good morning, everyone. Oops, let me just get set up. Okay, fantastic. Okay, just got to manage this one. Then this can be taken out. Sorry, you can do this later. Yeah, I don't need that height. That is meant for short people. I can do a little bit of without that. Fantastic. Good to see a full room and really welcome to this premier conference on facilities management. We really look forward to all of these conferences, but especially the one with ET. This is the premier industry conference. So it's fantastic to see in August delegate all of here, and there are competing events today. So it's good to see a full room. There are some few chairs in the front. Guys, come in front, you've paid for this, so it's good to occupy some of the, only Munish is kind of making use of it. Joel, you need to come in front. You've paid for these seats. Anyway, so fantastic event, and did some of you catch up on the Apple event last night? How many Apple fanboys in the room? Show of hands? Not enough? Apple's not doing a good job selling this in India, looks like. But I mean, if you caught the Apple event, I'm sure maybe there are some people who caught the Apple event but not kind of raising their hands, or maybe they're following it silently on Twitter, now X. They launched a new iPhone, and actually something which is Apple Series 9 watch. Fantastic, double tap gestures. I'm actually thinking, and I'm on the way back, I do not know when it's launching, maybe I missed the date. You might just find me standing outside in the queue, outside the Geo World Drive, queuing up to buy the latest iPhone. I've got I left my phone there. Rudimentary 3-year-old phone goes out, right? And while I'm there, I might actually buy a Apple Watch. This one's not in fashion anymore. People actually comment when they see this watch on my hand saying, why are you not wearing the latest Apple Watch? And I'm actually now tempted saying, okay, peer pressure, everyone's kind of talking about it, so I need to now, when it launches, be outside the Geo Drive and kind of try and buy some of those watches. Anyone else planning to do that? I mean, I'll need some company. Any show of hands once again? I'm trying to get some people to participate. Isha just mentioned that, need to participate. Just a small group of guys. But anyway, Apple's not doing such a great job selling, I guess. But what's happening? I mean, what just happened here, at least with me, and maybe silently and secretly with some of you there in the audience, is the fact that I'm going to probably discard my phone. It's going to pile up with 10 other phones which are lying in the drawer, and probably find its way into the landfill. That's what's going to happen. So is something that's going to happen with this watch the moment I switch over to an Apple Watch. What's happening is ultimately everyone's looking to upgrade. And when you upgrade, what are you doing with some of your old assets? Most of the times, what you're trying to do is either hand it down, and if I try and hand down my phone, my kids are not going to take it because they've got their own brand to protect. They're not going to probably want to be seen with a second-hand phone. So I've got a problem there. So at the end of the day, it's going to just either lie there, and when I get rid of it from my perspective, I give it to somebody, and I think my job is done. And it's very likely that if I have not put it into an e-waste bin, very unlikely that somebody else that I've handed over the phone to, who would probably be not as aware, is definitely not going to use any e-waste bin. It's going to find its way into the landfill. It's going to be trashed. This is a 2-year, 3-year-old phone. it's got a few years of life there. What just happened here is that I've become a slave of the linear economy. What does linear economy mean? Linear economy, as humans, all of us have now adopted this linear economy. And what that means, it means I take resources from Mother Earth, I make products out of it, and then I'm disposing it off into the landfill, which is creating toxic waste. And we've got a finite supply of minerals. We are reaching a stage in our lifespan of Mother Earth where we are running out of some resources. And now we are trying to find new resources, we are finding it more difficult. So look at this scenario at our homes, at our offices. There is so much of abundance. We don't think twice about consumption, be it plastics, be it packaging material, you name it. We're not thinking twice because it's very easy for us to replace. As an economy, India is doing fantastic. So great economy, all of us are doing well in our lives. There is progress. So what do we end up doing? I can afford it, let me go and buy it. And I'm not even talking about expensive good, it could be just small things that we do. So we've actually, all of us have become slaves of the linear economy. Let me also narrate one incident. A couple of years back, as it happens, electronics tend to break down. So my LED television at home broke down. Now, obviously, when it breaks down, you call the technician, so you call the OEM, I'm refraining from naming the brand. The technician comes in, you got to chase him down sometimes, he doesn't come on time, and he makes his way, finds his way home, opens the television, trying to repair it, makes a couple of calls, makes some notes, scribbles down, and then he tells me, okay, this is the cost of repairing the television. And I was shocked. I thought he needs maths lessons because he's done some calculation errors while he was making some scribbling. But actually, the joke was on me. I actually needed maths lesson myself because his totaling was right. And more importantly, I think I needed a reality check. The code that he gave me was high in my view, and I thought, okay, do I really now need to, all the questions popping up, my television lacks certain features, the new televisions have some OLED, QLED, I don't even know what those terminologies mean, but everyone's pushing those jargons, just like Apple did yesterday, pushing jargons in front of you. So what happens? Now I'm saying, just not economically viable. Let me not repair this television. Let me go and buy a new one. Okay, so I'm telling him I'm paying him his visiting charges, he's gone, he's packed up. And I told him, listen, why don't you take this television? He said, not my job. Okay. Bombay homes, very, very small, Mumbai homes, limited space. Go buy a new television, and the old one just cannot, all the emotional bond with the old television is gone. Now, I've got to get rid of it quickly. The next guy who turns up, obviously, is the guy who picks up my newspapers. And I tell him, listen here, why don't you take this away? He says, no, I can't. I mean, I have nothing to do with this. What do I do with this? I said, I don't care. You do what you want to do, but get rid of it. So he said, okay, I'll trash it. I said, yeah, do what you want to do. I don't care. I will get rid of it because I need my 3 feet of space. That's more precious than me, and I have no value for the television. What he does is, I can actually see him, goes down into the compound, actually throws the television down, smashes it, gets some useful metals out of it, but does a very, very crude job of it, puts it, half of it I'm sure has now found its way into some landfill. And I'm sure this happens with most of us, and I'm giving you one real life example, but it could be this scenario repeating itself in various different goods that we use. And I'm purposely giving you examples which are closer to life. As humans we connect. I'm not necessarily taking you to the big bad world of our offices or what's happening around in terms of what we do and materials in large scale in our offices. Each time that this happens, think about what the consequences are. Most of these equipment have a few years of life. If I would have taken up the technician on his repair quote, it probably would have lasted me a few years. I don't know. but it had some useful years of life left. We do this with our phones. We do this with electronic items. We do this with our laptops. Just think about it. The number of wires that we have, the number of chargers and adapters we've got tucked away somewhere at our homes. And when we don't need them, what we are trying to do is kind of really dispose them off. It's often easier to dispose of than recycle. So those are practical difficulties. I couldn't think about recycling. In fact, in my car, I've got a couple of electronic items, some wires. I was actually wanting to find an e-waste bin, but it's difficult to find. So there are practical challenges of finding recyclers or finding recycling bins. That's the linear economy for you. Now, the contrary, the living world, there are no landfills. When you look at it, the materials flow. One species' waste is another one's food. When you look at it, energy is provided by the sun, things will grow, things will die, then return back into the soil. All of it works. That's how the world has been designed. This is the circular economy. As kids, each one of us is familiar with the water cycle. Correct? I mean, you've got rain, it goes around, it continues to recycle infinite number of times. In fact, all of the resources, metals, can be recycled infinite number of times. But what do? Metals find the way into landfills. When they find their way into landfills, you cannot mine them. I'm actually thinking, the more you think about it, once you run out of all of the ore, when the mines actually run out of all useful, economically viable ores, the next mining will actually happen in landfills. Because go back into the landfills, they're going to dig because you're going to find metals there. You're going to find precious metals in all of our landfills outside cities. That's how it's going to probably end up turning. The circular economy is all about making, using, and returning it back to Mother Nature. It's all around reducing the usage, reusing it, and obviously recycling all of the materials that we use. We generally equate prosperity with spending. That's typically our answer. If I can afford it, so be it. So I'm going to spend. Being frugal is not a sign of being prosperous. Wrong notion. We've not survived, and this is a learning of a few hundred years, not generations old. What we are trying to now look at from a circular economy is how do we rethink the way that we live our lives? How do we ensure that we are able to get the valuable metals, polymers, alloys, all of those useful minerals from what we've discarded or when materials reach their end of useful life? How can these become the resources for tomorrow? How can we return and get into the renew culture? How can products be regenerated? The circular economy is all about these. These are not new. You all know about this. So I'm not really teaching you anything that you've not necessarily heard before. But what's critical is how do we deliver this in our lives? How do we actually execute some of these decisions when we are in those important chairs? How do we actually enable this behavior to change? So it's all about behavior. When you look at the ownership, circular economy, as we look at it, depends in terms of changing the way you own equipment, changing the way you derive and use services. Can you, for example, not own the television set that I mentioned about? If my requirement is to watch shows, why can't I lease it? Why can't I get a television provided to me where I don't own it? It's the job of that company who gives me the television to give me what my output is. So why am I not, for example, getting it into a service? Think about it. These are the ideas that are currently floating around in the circular economy. What this will do is the technician who refused to take the television back will be forced to take it back because he owns the asset. It's not my asset. The television is not my asset. The company that has supplied me the television will be responsible for taking it back and recycling it. Maybe it will take the cost of my ownership higher, but that's a price we pay. When we look at the total cost of ownership, it probably is not very, very different. Think about that. If you think that this is very, very impractical, I'll give you a case study which came out of Europe. There's a company which wanted to open a new office. And when they said, we want to kind of go and light up my office, they said, why do I need to buy lamps? Why can't I go to a company and they sell me lights? And they sell me lighting as a service. And in fact, they went to Philips, and Philips has actually signed this contract with this company. The contract is to supply lighting as a service. So the client does not invest, does not buy the lamps. He is not invested in buying the lamps at all. What has he done? He said, I need 300 lux at these areas, I need 150 lux, somewhere I need 50 lux here. So he's decided, here is what I need. I am not going to pay for electricity also, which means Philips puts the lamps, they are required to replace the lamps when they fail, and they pay for whatever energy bills are for the lighting. It's worked beautifully. It's one of the key case studies around circular economy, which is kind of the bellwether now of people kind of quoting all of this. And why is this happening is, over a period of time, the energy usage has actually gone down. Why has that happened? Philips is the experts. They're saying, I'm going to make X dollars from this service contract. How do I maximize my return? They invested in replacing the lamps with more energy efficient lamps. They were incentivized to do it. The clients were contractually also getting some benefit out of this. So when the clients, for example, over a period of years have a glide path savings, their cost of getting light is also reducing because Philips is sharing some of the benefits that they're able to get. More importantly, nobody's worried about lamps finding their way back into the landfill. The lamps are recycled by Philips because they own it, and they're responsible then to kind of ensure that they find the right recycling partners if they don't do it themselves. It's worked well. The question to each one of us in the room is, can such a creative approach be taken in other aspects of facilities management? Can we trust the experts? There are a few clients here, there are a few service providers here, and the ownership lies on both sides for the service providers to kind of come up with better ideas, for the clients to be able to trust the experts, not be prescriptive about it. Another key example, Airbnb. Airbnb today, and I'm standing rather in a hotel, Airbnb today rents more room nights than any other hotel in the world. They did not exist a few years back. What have they done? All they're doing is they're connecting people using technology. The benefit of this is they've actually unlocked resources which were otherwise lying vacant or were not fully utilized. So they've actually unlocked potential which already existed. It's a fantastic reflection in terms of what potentials could exist in some of our other aspects and can be easily unlocked just by being creative about some of these solutions. When you look at the circular economy, again, it's not very widespread. There are challenges. First, obviously, it's not cool enough. Like I gave you the example, nobody wants to use second-hand phones. So how do we make it, for example, fashionable to maybe use second-hand phones? I don't know. Maybe that's a right thing or wrong thing, but a thought for all of us to take back. Secondly, today, as we stand, the ecosystem does not exist. So we've got to create momentum around this movement. And one of the challenges has been the cynicism that exists around this subject. And it comes down to marketeers like us. It comes down to industry experts, businesses, how we talk about sustainability, how we talk about regeneration. That may not be how the consumers or the clients identify or think about it. And that's probably the big problem. I was looking at a couple of reports. There is one, Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Look at some of the videos as well. Very, very interesting. One of the things that I picked up from them is that 63% of people are actually cynical about the motivation of the brands when they're putting up actions around sustainability. I'll repeat, as consumers, 63% of the people don't believe the brands when they put some message out around sustainability. They're thinking, oh, this is probably somebody who's trying to make some more money out of me. They don't necessarily believe around the facts which companies put up. So there's something wrong with our messaging. We question the facts. We question why a company is doing this, and they may be very, very honest about it, but maybe the messaging needs to change. Cost is just one thing, but it's actually changing people's mindset, which is really the bigger challenge. The IPCC actually estimates that by 2050, between 40% to 70% of the emission reduction will happen because of behavior change, not anything else. Very, very simple statistics to kind of understand. Again, 40 to 70% reduction in emission just by changing the behavior of consumers, of clients, of each one of us. So we don't have to do really anything different. We don't have to really invent anything else. Just how we use products, services, etc., can really make a big, big difference. One more interesting factor, the value action gap in sustainability is huge. 90% of the clients that are spoken to want to do something in sustainability. 90% saying, yes, we want to do something around sustainability, but only 16% of those 90% are actually changing their behavior. So again, it all comes down to behavior of each one of us as humans, as individuals, as consumers, as decision makers, as clients. Each one of us has a role to play. That's the big challenge. But what this means is there is an unmet demand because clients are underserviced. There is this gap where clients want to do it, but they've not been able to change the behavior for various reasons. There is a Kalari Capital report which talks about the circular economy having a potential of $4.5 trillion. $4.5 trillion. If India is just 1% of that, that's $45 billion. And the investment that has actually gone into the circular economy is about 1.8 billion only, which means, again, huge potential. Huge potential for us because the first movers in this space are always corporates. If you see now today, everyone's talking about sustainability, and all of this noise is coming from corporates, multinationals, because they probably got deeper pockets, and it flows down later into consumers, for example, which follow the trend. So we're in that fulcrum, we're in that spot where as facility managers, we can really, really influence the buying behaviors of our clients. That's a huge opportunity for us to realize around circular economy, around sustainability, around solutions of sustainability, services that kind of lead into it. There will be challenges in circular economy. There will be reluctance due to the initial cost. This is capital intensive. Each one of us will have to look at investments. Sometimes the results are suboptimal. You don't get the right outcomes. Again, lack of incentives. You don't necessarily see that clear vision or an incentive for you to kind of go there because maybe not being green is not financially impacting each one of us. But having said that, you today have opportunities in the circular economy, in facilities management, of our workspaces, in areas such as food waste. And food waste typically is 40% of the wastage that kind of finds its way into the landfill. Easily can be turned into compost. You would reduce the amount of methane, which is a greenhouse gas release into the air. Once it's locked into landfill, the amount of methane is 4 times than what it would be if you were to convert it to compost. Clothing, because it's run out of trend, hand-me-down, we forget about it, we think problem is gone away, but they find their way into the landfill. Eventually, again, waste of resources. They can be upcycled very, very easily. In our offices, look at electronic waste, look at paper, look at how we, for example, run our cafeterias, looking at packaging of the various supplies and material that we are buying. Again, huge opportunity for each one of us. Just kind of final thought, which I'm going to leave each one of you today, and we've got some sessions during the day. Hopefully, a couple of them will pick up on this point. But we've got to ask how are clients buying FM services today? I was mentioning that clients today are being very prescriptive about buying the facilities management services, and this is relevant to each one of us. They are telling you exactly what they need. Is that the best approach? And obviously, clients need to change their behavior, and we've got to influence the change of their behavior. How do we do that? It's again a partnership. We are the experts as service providers. Shouldn't we be telling the client, leave it to us? Let us decide how we are going to run your facility. I'm going to ensure that you're going to be able to come in and occupy the facility and co-working space to doing that to an extent. But again, they're changing the model and becoming traditional landlords. So again, market forces will continue to pull each one of us in different directions. But that's the way that we'll have to go and move to circular economy. Circular economy will not work if you are in the consumption mindset or if you are in the ownership of asset mindset. If you think this is my asset, I'm going to own it, look at the cost of owning the asset, look at the whole life cycle cost. Don't only look at what you're paying upfront to buy it, or some clients look at what the daily consumption cost of this is. So at the end of the day, are we challenging ourselves and the stakeholders enough to influence and change the behavior of the clients? Because ultimately, we will only get to where we want to around circular economy or sustainability is by change of behavior. And like I told you, the value gap is huge there. Everyone wants to do it, but few are able to do it due to various challenges. Thank you so much. I really look forward to some of the sessions during the day. Thank you.